Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the link. This is the link, and we're coming to you live from Barbados, beautiful Barbados. And guess what? Ernesto Cook is supposed to be joining me from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Beautiful St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The whole Caribbean is beautiful. And we have someone calling in. Dr. Fontaine is going to be calling in from Dominica. When I tell you this is a link up, it is a true link up today. And it's so important as Caribbean people that, you know what, we're able to share notes, we're able to connect. Connection is important. Locking arms together, sharing information. I was able to call my friends over in Dominica and connect with them and to find out their thoughts on the free movement. And so they're going to call in. And I hope we can, before the program is up, we can link up with our brothers and sisters over there in Belize. You know, I've never been to Belize. I've never been to Belize. I've been to Dominica, had a wonderful time in Dominica only a few months ago. And I've been to St. Vincent and the Grenadines as well and love it there. I love the entire Caribbean. And so today we're talking about free movement. Free movement, and which most of us we're very open to that about us people moving and connecting, and there's some people who want to go live in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Some people might want to go live in Belize. Some people might want to go and live in Dominica. And so what has occurred is that we were told that this is what is going to happen, that we're going to have free movement, that four of the Caribbean countries, that they're coming together and they're basically hastening this arrangement, this policy within the region, within the Caribbean region. And we have lots of questions, right? We have lots of questions about it because I'm getting to understand that the prime ministers within the Caribbean region, they have not yet even, some of them have not yet even explained it to the citizens within the region. Those of you from Dominica, I'm hearing that your prime minister has not said a word apart from what was announced by the prime minister of Jamaica, who is not part of this this free movement, right? But he was the one to announce it. Okay. And but most of these Caribbean islands have not heard anything from their respective prime ministers. Belize, if you're listening from Belize, did you hear from your prime minister? St. Vincent and the Grenadines, did you hear from your prime minister? Has it been explained? Do you know what it means? Now, we all know that we have the Treaty of Chaguaramas, all right, and which governs the free movement. But there is this thing now that is called the Enhanced Cooperation Chapter. So they created the Enhanced Cooperation Chapter of the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. And what this allows is a subset of Caribbean countries to deepen cooperation among themselves, especially when community-wide agreement is not yet in place. So we need to look at that because they have not yet received community-wide agreement between all of the Caribbean countries. But these four have decided that they are going to create this subset of CARICOM. So you have CARICOM, and now you have a subset of CARICOM. I'm here wondering, can CARICOM be divided anymore? Already we're seeing the division among CARICOM in terms of this war or impending war. Some people are calling it war in the Caribbean seas with the US and Venezuela, where we seem to be caught up in the middle of it. And we're seeing very clear lines are already being drawn in the Caribbean, where Trinidad and Jamaica right? They are, and Guyana, they're in support of the US making these strikes in Venezuelan waters, or some people are saying Caribbean waters because it's right there, right? So we know that those three for sure are in alignment with the US. Read these strikes, these military strikes. And you have countries like St. Vincent and the Grenadines totally against it. You have Barbados. We know Barbados is against it, but not coming out outright. But based on what the Prime Minister would have said, our Prime Minister Mia Mottley, would have said at the UN, one would assume that Barbados is not really above these military strikes, because they're saying we are a zone of peace. And Kamala, the Prime Minister Kamala, is saying we are not a zone of peace because we're dealing with so much crime and violence in our countries. So she's saying, with all of the organized crime that is happening in the Caribbean, how can you say this is a zone of peace? Yes. So we already have these Caribbean islands already divided on that, and here it is. We now have a subset of the Caribbean countries who've now come together to join with this enhanced cooperation of the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. It's basically what is happening. So you have St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you have Barbados, Belize, Dominica implementing a full free movement regime starting the 1st of October 2025, which was yesterday. Now, as it relates to Barbados, it was after public outcry that our Prime Minister, on the eve of this free movement regime, decide grudgingly, I'm thinking, because there have been outcry about it, because we were in the dark, she decided to grace us with her presence and to give us a speech, or some call it a lecture, because often she speaks down to the people in Barbados. She speaks down to us, so it seems like a lecture. And so what we're beginning to understand is, under this arrangement, nationals from these four countries, they will have the right to enter the countries, right? Leave, re-enter, reside, work, and remain indefinitely. So talk about population control or increasing of populations. I mean, I know that in Barbados we're looking for 80,000 people. Is this the way we're going to get it? Are we going to get it from the people from Belize, from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, from Dominica? So there they can enter the countries, leave, re-enter, reside, work, and remain indefinitely without needing work permits or residency permits. They will have access to social services. So they will also gain access to emergency and primary health care. Plus, they're going to get primary and secondary school education. The big question is, in your respective country, in Dominica, in Belize, in St. Vincent and Grenadines, and Barbados, what is the state of your healthcare? Anybody out there? What's the state of your healthcare? Do you have long waits? In Barbados, we know that it will take us sometimes, 2.5 days before we see the doctor at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. What's going to happen when we have, if we were to really have people or wonderful people coming from Dominica and from St. Vincent and the Grenadines and from Belize, what's going to happen to the healthcare system? We surely would not want you to come here and suffer the way we suffer at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. What's the state of the healthcare system in your country? What about your school system? How is the what are the class sizes in St. Vincent and the Grenadines? What is the teacher to student ratio? What about secondary school education? What about the actual infrastructure? What's the state of the infrastructure of your schools in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and in Belize and in Dominica? Can you manage it, as we would say in the Caribbean? Yeah. So all of these things are what we will need to discuss. And I'm seeing my friend Ernesto is in. Looking forward to this discussion with him for sure. And I can't. He's going to tell me when he's able to join. But I think that all of this is important. Good afternoon, Vihoy. I see Vihoy there, and I know she's watching me from the US. I can see the others who are on. Yes. Yeah, these are things that need to be addressed before it was implemented. And I can't wait for Ernesto to come on to help me to answer some of these questions. If it is that we are going to, everybody who uh, enters Barbados, Dominica, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Belize. If everybody's going to, participate and they're going to, be involved in terms of the our healthcare and the schools, they will have access, is the word I'm looking for, sorry, access to emergency healthcare. I want to know, what is the state of emergency and primary healthcare in St. Vincent and the Grenadines? What about primary and secondary school education? What is it when we leave Barbados, what we experience in St. Vincent and the Grenadines? You know, what about education? Primary, what if we go with our family? What is going to happen? In Barbados here, I mean, we're on the verge of changing our citizenship requirements or eligibility. And so CARICOM nationals have a faster pathway, right, to citizenship. So if they enter the country within a 2 year, if they were living here for 6 months straight in that 2 year period, they can apply for citizenship in Barbados. Has that changed in St. Vincent and the Grenadines? Based on what I'm seeing online, you have not changed your Citizenship Act, which is usually within the 7 year, 5 to 7 years, right? Then within that time that you can apply. The CARICOM national could apply for citizenship. So all of these things we really need to we need to look into. So let me see if my co-host is ready. He's still setting up to come in. Yeah, I mean, will taxes be taken from these individuals? Well, they're working in the country, so I suspect that taxes will be taken. Will they be able to vote? How will that affect the electoral registry? There are some countries I know are concerned already about voter padding. Will this help the reigning the government who is in power, since they were the ones who implemented it? I'm curious. I can't wait for Ernesto to come on because I want to know what is going to happen. And if I go from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, what about pay? What about what's the minimum wage in St. Vincent and the Grenadines? What kind of jobs are jobs available there? Wouldn't you want to know? Yeah, we are good questions. Have they addressed the increase in crime in the Caribbean and how to ensure our citizens are protected? So, Mr. Cook, as soon as you're ready, you give me a thumbs up. And oh, yeah, and then we'll be able to have you in. Yeah, Mr. Ernest.
Um, Marcia, Marcia, um, yeah, today's another rush day again. Another rush day. I came off the road because I was actually on the road, um, doing some stuff since this morning. I want to get a million things done because every day you wake up now, the Caribbean used to be like a place where it was so peaceful, right? And so
Yes,
serene and so calm, and like you could just laze around and do everything you have to do in a time in. Now it's like if you don't do it, it's like so many obstruction is coming in your way now that you don't even know if. I mean, tomorrow is not promised to anybody, right? Not even the next minute. You don't even know when you're gonna prop up. But what I'm saying is like so much things are coming up now in your way, not of your making actually, Marcia. So much people on the outside causing all these issues that you have to be hurrying and bustling and people raising up the blood pressure and they say the sugar going
yeah,
up and it's all kind of things now. It just really getting annoying, you know what I'm saying? It really getting annoying. But this whole thing you're talking about here with the free movement,
yes. I can't wait for you. Tell me
listen to me.
if I say, listen, man, I love St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and
Yes.
I would like to come there. Talk to me
Listen to me.
about the hospital, your primary and secondary care,
Listen to me.
health
Listen to
care.
me.
Talk to me about
Dear,
education. Talk to me about jobs and,
listen to
and,
me.
and salary.
Listen to me. I said before and I say it again.
Yes.
Yesterday I did a video. I was very happy to see that it was viewed it had a good viewership. It didn't have much discussion under it, right? It had a lot of thumbs up and a lot of numbers in the viewing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It still means that a lot of things that are happening is not clear to a lot of people. Why they couldn't
Yes.
engage in the discussion under that video, unlike other videos I put up, right? Listen to me. The free movement is not a bad thing because CARICOM was actually designed so that we could be integrated. We could just move among the place like how they have the European Union. I've always advocated for that. Every time you hear talk, I talk about the European Union example,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of being a block, right? To me, the free movement thing is like almost like a harem scarum hurry thing, right? It's like yeah, we've been talking about it for years, but there is a specific reason why we want to do it now in certain countries, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think for St. Vince, a lot of people have been worrying about the whole aspect of the election, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately,
When is
un-
your election?
unfortunately, unfortunately, right? Um, St. Vincent not going to have the opportunity where these people will be able to vote. It's actually December, more than likely, at
Mm-hmm.
least the first week or the ending of November.
Mm-hmm.
So these people really, if you're coming into a country and just like anybody else, you have to be here at least for 6 months, right? Um, you get an indefinite stay with different movement, right? You get an indefinite stay. Because you go to Barbados, they'll put a 6 month stamp in your passport and tell you you gotta be out here in the 6 months, right? Come to St. Vince is really the same thing, really. This is an indefinite stay, but this doesn't say citizenship from what I'm getting. If you understand where I'm coming from.
Yes, yes.
It doesn't say citizenship automatically, right? It doesn't say those things. So you could get an ID card actually if you're starting to work,
Mm-hmm.
right? You actually could get an ID card. But the voting regulations is clear. that you have to be within the domain for at least a 6 month period, right? Your Commonwealth, you have to be here for at least a 6 month period and a year to get to vote. So unfortunately, for the people who've been thinking about that these people are coming in and they're going to vote, sorry to burst your bubble, they're not going to be voting in any elections and they're not going to give any government or opposition an advantage, right? Belize, unfortunately, they're not getting that advantage either because their election was since the 12th of March this year. Um, when is the Barbados election? I'm not hearing you at all. I'm not hearing you at all. I'm not hearing you at all.
It can be any time now, in the next 15 months. So ours is coming up.
Right. So they have a chance. They would have a chance, right? They're Commonwealth and they're from right, so they would have a chance, right? If it's 15 months away from now, they actually would have a chance to vote, right? So people will start to look at that in a kind of a way. All right. So St. Vincent's out. We don't have no advantage. Belize is gone, so they have no advantage. What about Dominica? When is Dominica election?
Dominica in the next I would say 2 years.
Yeah, let me just check something
Yeah,
fast. Set up the
yeah. I think it's in 2 years. In fact, we have
So 2027,
yeah,
2027.
yeah,
Right.
2 years time. Yeah,
So
a
Barbados
year and a
Dominica.
half, year and a
Right.
half.
So Barbados Dominica looks like they're gonna have a chance at the people who are coming in, right? The thing about the people who are coming in, the people who are coming in actually gonna give weight to the government of the day. They're gonna
Mm-hmm.
give weight to the government, not the opposition, because they're going to say, I came in here when the free movement was allowed under this government. They made the
Yes.
pathway for this
Mm-hmm.
to happen. So
Yeah.
my intentions here are clear. I may want to just give it more to them if I'm going to vote, right? There you have it. There you have it. That's for Bajans to discuss and Dominicans to discuss.
Dominicans, and I
That's
was telling you, somebody from Dominica is going to call in at
right.
1:30. Actually, the
Yeah.
leader of the
Yeah.
opposition is going to call in at 1:30. But go ahead.
Yeah. So that's for them to deal with. I'm not even going to get into their business
Listen,
and their
we need
problem.
you to get into it because our
Listen.
prime minister, your prime minister, they're like peas in a pod.
Well, the point is, right? The point is, there's no advantage for St. Vincent, right?
You
Right now.
think so? You think
Right
so?
now, right, when I'm saying no advantage, I'm talking about people here were already talking about the voting thing, right? But there's no advantage for it because they can't vote. The rules are clear. They will not be able to
So
vote.
your laws are not changing. I want, because I think one of the thing is though, is that we are actually changing our citizens bill, or
Right,
citizenship act
right.
is being changed
So that so
to accommodate this. Okay.
right. So actually they actually passed the immigration and amendment to the bill in Parliament in St. Vincent, right? It actually had an amendment that was passed on it, which is the immigration amendment bill, right? Which that was actually to allow or to enable the CARICOM free movement, right? So
Hmm.
it was a bill to allow that. It was passed in the House, right? And basically all it said was to expect it that it was to facilitate the number of movement for or the movement for Vincentians under the new regime, which will be between St. Vincent and Grenadines, Barbados, right? Um, the important part said that Vincentians and Barbadians will no longer have to work under the radar when they visit each country, and they will now have the full legal protection and cannot be taken advantage of. The Prime Minister also said that the free movement to and from Belize under the new regime is also important for historical reasons and Dominica as well. He said many people of Garifuna descent were excited from exiled from St. Vincent, now reside in Belize, will now make it easier for them to visit their ancestral homelands, right? So really and truly, it's just facilitating the free movement. You can work, you can get your ID card if you're going to get employed, because you have to take your ID card to the NIS, the National Insurance Services, where you register so you can work, so you can get your benefits from your pension because you're working now, so you have to pay taxes and all that kind of stuff. You understand what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So, but there's a lot of things in terms of citizenship. It didn't say that. It's like you have to be here for the full length of time. Like if you go in a country and they say you have to be there for 5 years and you get your citizenship. That's where I'm
Right.
coming from.
Yes.
So the voting aspect, I heard the Prime Minister spoke about it. He made it clear. He said, listen, this is anybody who's here for a year, once you're from a Commonwealth country, you get to vote. You have to be here for a year at least. That's it. So there's no advantage for him.
For
No.
him. But
Yes.
Motley
Clearly, there will be advantage for Motley. Clearly, there will be advantage for Motley. And
and
if I know
and
Motley, she will take full advantage of that.
but I want you to note something though, that
Yes.
this occurred under her watch when she was
Yes.
chairman of CARICOM.
Correct.
That 6 months that she was a chairman of CARICOM, it seems like she made. I don't know. I'm wondering if this was something that the four of them came together, because the others have not joined in yet. This is an
Well,
enhanced version.
well,
The other.
I am surprised if they actually struck it up together. And my good friend in St. Vincent waited until now to do that, and not since January this year. I'm very surprised
Mm,
because he could have. I'm sure he could have took all the votes he wanted to. I'm very surprised, but he didn't do that. It's happening now. So I don't know. But the point is, maybe he saw that if he did it earlier, a lot of people it may not have been an advantage to him, but a disadvantage based on the campaign the opposition may have wanted to carry about. So
yes.
he, knowing the brain he has, maybe he said, no, 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 it's all right. I'll run it down to the wire. I'll do it when it come close, so nobody can say I'm bringing in people to vote. So let me
Hmm.
keep out of that. You understand? Because
Yes.
it may have been to a disadvantage to him and not an advantage.
Right. So
Yes,
Skerritt and Motley are the ones that seem like they are going to
yes,
benefit.
absolutely. So they will, and I think they will take full advantage of that situation. If I know Motley, I've listened to her over the years. I think she'll take full advantage of that situation. And maybe if I were in their position, maybe I would have done the same too. I don't know. I'm just saying. If I'm thinking like a politician, or if I'm a politician, I may have done the same too. I can't. So I can't hold anything to their head. And you know what? Maybe we can't really criticize them for it because if it says, and I think the law is the same, basically, Dominica, you come there as a Commonwealth citizen and your year pass, you can vote. So maybe you can't really hold it against them, right? I don't know. I don't
No,
know.
but it's different for it was different for Barbados. It was
Mhm.
3 years. So
3 years.
yes, and you needed to be living for 3 months in the constituency. So it's a big change.
So Barbados has changed it completely under this.
Because now, remember, and I think we what we're doing is
Yeah.
taking full what our prime minister is doing.
So she's
Ernesto
taking
is
full
taking.
advantage. Full
Yes, so
advantage.
she's gone now to change the citizenship
So
bill on
so
how you can become a citizen. So she's made the pathway way shorter
so let me
so
get.
that.
Uh,
Mhm.
so
Go ahead.
how long you have to stay in the country now?
So this is it. If you entered within say you enter once you enter,
Mhm.
she's saying that within that 2 year period that you can do it. Well, you're basically 6 months, anytime
So
in that 2 year period.
if I come and say, so if I leave St. Vincent, right, and I come to Barbados on the 1st of December 2025,
Mm-hmm.
and I decide I want to remain in Barbados because now I can stay indefinite, right?
Mm-hmm.
That will take me down to at least July the next year, which is 2026. That
Mm-hmm.
will be 6 months. You're saying from there and then I'll
That
be eligible.
you can start to apply for citizenship. So that's the listen to me. This woman is something else, and so
Ah,
hold a minute. So that is now before the house. Okay, that is so they that is with the
and
joint select committee, and it's going to be
yeah,
brought to the
and
house. So
let me
so
ask
that's
you a
what we're
question.
fighting. That's what we're fighting.
And let me ask you a question. Who's in the parliament to stop it?
That's our problem. That she knows that.
There's
There
nobody to
is
stop it, right?
nobody well, because we only have the one, we have the one parliamentarian who crossed the floor, which is who's Ralph Thorne. And so she's not just, and this is what, as somebody says, a bait and switch. We are not about fighting about free movement. It's been happening.
Yeah.
So we're now, nobody has a problem with it. It's now the citizenship bill that is the issue. And so I want to check today with Dominicans to say, is there a change to your citizenship bill? They don't know yet. So the guy, I have Dr. Fontaine
I
who's going to come on and talk to us
well,
about what's happening in
what
Dominica.
it means Motley believes in true regional integration, not just a movement of a people to work and be indefinite in a country like that. They should take full advantage
Oh
of my
yes,
country.
of
So,
everything.
I come to Barbados. I'm still indefinite. Why not be a citizen? Come
Exactly.
on, I'm a true regionalist. That's what the woman is. She's a true regionalist, and that's what it is. But yeah,
Listen,
listen to me.
well,
Listen to
we're
me.
laughing.
Listen to
We're
me. Listen to me.
laughing.
No,
Go ahead.
it sounds like a joke, right? But it's not a joke. It's a serious matter. But because there are a lot of disadvantages to it and a lot of advantages to it, right? Because you may get people who are of a certain caliber in certain industry that you may really need, and they may find
No,
themselves if
no,
they
no.
no, what I'm saying, right? They may find themselves if I'm not going to be a citizen of that country. I'm not really going to want to partake there too long and give my full strength to it because I may not get a good thing in the end in terms of, when I'm old. So let me just not really. But if I
Mhm.
hear I can come a citizen and I can take full advantage of everything, why not, right? So I think she's playing a role there. But the point about it is that it has a lot of things in it that could be a disadvantage for Barbadians as well. But I think she's taking full advantage of this thing here. And then when I say full advantage, I mean full advantage. She mentioned recently population needs to build. So she's doing it. She can claim that, right?
Yeah, that's what
Building
she's
the
claiming.
population. So you girls don't want to go make babies and you all want to be no, I'll have people in here who probably want to make baby. So you all don't want to study this and in this field. I have a bunch of people coming in this field who will be able to work. So she's taking full advantage of the situation, really. And like I said, like you said, there's nobody who could really stop that bill in Parliament. And let me ask you a question though. What do you think are at least the three or two top disadvantages on what she's doing with the citizenship bill?
I think no. I think generally, as you've said, there are people. We do need to increase our population.
Yes.
I have no. I'm
Yeah.
Jamaican living here, and so I can't be. I would never be against free movement.
Yes.
I have no problems with that. I think though that you are cheapening the whole aspect of being a citizen. It's being cheapened, and regardless of what skill that you bring, I think we need to raise the bar a little bit,
Yes.
and so as somebody here who's not Barbadian, I think that you're making it too easy.
Okay.
i think that I think that the culture, when I think of Barbadian culture, all right,
Mhm.
Ernesto,
Yes. Yes. I'm hearing.
listen, Jamaicans are flooding into Barbados at this time. All right, I'm just telling you. And even though they're not one of the countries, they're flooding in. Everywhere I turn, I see Jamaicans.
Okay.
And in the supermarket, you're now seeing a lot of things, a lot of food items in there that Jamaicans eat because
Sorry.
there are a lot of them here. The Jamaican culture,
Yes.
you would know this if you've traveled. Jamaican culture is very, very powerful.
Absolutely.
And so, as a Jamaican, as much as I love my culture, I am worried about Barbados. I'm worried that we would be so the Jamaican culture, for example, could really overtake the Barbadian culture. When you think of just even food,
Mm-hmm.
you understand what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
the Barbadian culture is not the Bajans might kill me for this, but it doesn't seem as strong and defined as the Jamaican culture. So when you open the floodgates for
Mm-hmm.
everybody to come in and they can become citizens so easily,
Yes.
I worry about that. I know a lot of people might not, but as a cultural person, I worry about that for Barbados because I think Barbados at this moment needs to strengthen their identity, their
Yeah.
cultural identity, and I honestly worry about that.
Well,
Yeah.
there has to be. I agree with you in a large extent. There has to be certain limits to how you deal with citizenship because just look at it. Just look at what happened in up north in the U.S. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, there's always going to be a problem if you have a clash of cultures,
Yes.
and it brings with it a lot of disadvantages, and it could change. It could uproot an entire society from its moral values, and it could plunge it into decay very fast. You have to be very careful with citizenship. You saw what happened up north in the U.S. They're trying to clean house. They may do it in a way people say they don't like, right? But when you have a clash of cultures, okay, so I leave where I am. My thing is that my culture is that if you step on my toe, We're not into sorry. We're into taking something and unalive you immediately, right? That's the culture I come from, right? I'm just trying an example, not me personally, yeah? I'm just saying. So there is a culture where some people say, you step on my big toe, we say, sorry, 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 mom, I didn't mean it, right? And we continue our merry way. We forgive each other, we continue. And there are just some people who come from a culture, if you step on my big toe, not intentionally, it just happened. My culture is to just unalive you immediately.
Yeah.
Citizenship now means that if you have 600 of these people coming from that cultural background, they're not coming to adapt to your norms and
No.
customs. They're bringing with them that culture. And they mean that they're not going to change. They're going to inculcate that culture into your society. So they may change 50 people from your society into what they are, into what they are, right? And that means you're going to have an escalation right there in violence out of simple things that can be settled very, very easily. So citizenship is a hell of a thing, eh? You have to be very careful how you go about just giving it out,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? If
While yeah.
somebody's coming in and just saying, okay, you have a passport, you can stay here indefinite, right? But there'll be rules and things attached to the indefinite because you can get a green card in the US, but if you commit crime, we're going to take it away from you and deport you. You
Exactly.
understand? So with indefinite now, these things can apply where okay, you're just indefinite here, you're not a citizenship, you're not a citizen per se. So under in the indefinite rules, you say, listen, you're here to work, you don't have a police record from where you are, but if you come here and you decide to kill a man or you decide to get involved in crime, no matter what it is, if you decide to steal, we may just give you a 2 months in prison and say you could inculcate yourself back into society, right? Because it's just a sandwich you steal off a supermarket shelf. But if you decide to get into these kind of violent acts and get into gangs and participate, because you're not here as a citizen, we can deport you ASAP. We're not leaving you here to change our culture. So you have to be very careful when you give citizenship out just like that willy nilly because you want to take advantage of something. You have to be very, very careful. And these are some of the issues that I have with that. These are some of the problems I'm foreseeing. I mean, people may get angry with me, but I think we have to be very, 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 very mindful with citizenship. We have to be very careful how we do it. If you look at the United States right now, they're telling you a million reasons why they don't think that you should get citizenship. They're telling you a million reasons why even if you have a green card, they can deport you.
Yeah, Ernesto, I'm
So
gonna ask you just to take a pause there. We have on the line Dr. Fontaine,
yeah,
and he is a leader of the largest political
that's not a problem.
opposition party in Dominica. And so let's welcome Dr. Fontaine. Welcome to the link.
Yeah.
Yes, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ernesto, can you hear him clearly?
Yeah, I'm hearing, but it's a bit low on my end. It could be. I don't know. I may have to turn up my. I'm not sure. Yeah,
It's a little low. It's a little low. Okay.
on my end. On my end, it could be my volume too. But he can go ahead.
Yes, let's see if the viewers can you hear him? Just viewers, Barbara, Stephen, let me know if you can hear him. Yes, Dr. Fontaine, thank you so much for taking time out to connect with us today on the link. Now, sir, we were here discussing the free movement that started yesterday, October 1st, and where we are being told that the four countries have done what they're calling an enhanced cooperation chapter of the revised Treaty of Chagaramas. That's Barbados, Belize, and Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I want to know how prepared is Dominica for this free movement, uh, uh, um, implementation.
Well, in terms of preparation, there's not much happening on Dominica. In fact, we are just now finding out,
Mm-hmm.
and very few of the population actually knows what is involved. We just hear free movement. People are thinking that that means they can now leave and go to Barbados without having any kind of papers. It is just not clear what exactly it means to the average person in our
Mm-hmm.
country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're saying that people in Dominica, they don't know, they really don't know they haven't been briefed. How has your prime minister been able to address your country and explain to the people what it means?
No, unfortunately, he has not. People have been asking for that. People who have heard about it or seen it in the press have been saying, but why is it that here in Dominica, the Prime Minister has not addressed this issue specifically to indicate exactly what is in that agreement, what arrangements have been made in Dominica, what does that mean for us in the country? None of those questions have been answered because we simply have not heard nothing from our government.
So you have not heard anything from your government about it.
Anything that would help clarify what exactly is in that agreement, because that's what we'd have liked to know exactly what it entails, what are the implications for our population.
Wow.
Does that mean that somebody from Barbados can come and work here in Dominica without a work permit? What does it really mean? No one is actually sure. And that is what we have been trying to find out. What exactly is in that enhanced? We've not seen the official document, nor have we heard from our government as what exactly is in that document.
Yes, yes. Now, I mean, someone here is saying that because in Barbados, just so you know, that we were not going to hear from our prime minister. However, the citizens began to demand it, and the opposition party here, and so on the eve of this implementation of the free movement, then she came out and gave a speech. But so it was taking a similar turn in Barbados. Well, we were just here discussing Ernesta Cook and myself. He's from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we were looking at the various countries, and we're looking at voting, the voter registration, and wondering, seeing that Barbados's election would be anytime between, up to 15 months. I think yours is in 2027. How whether or not you would be able to benefit your country, would be able to benefit from new registrants, voters registering, from the CARICOM. We're here wondering about that, but seeing that you have not seen any documentation, I don't know if you can comment. Can you comment on that?
Well, I can comment more broadly, given the tendency of our government to find all sorts of ways to enhance its chances of winning, to put it mildly, at the polls. I would not be surprised if that is part of the grander scheme, because we have, for for example, even now we accept Commonwealth citizens voting in Dominica. They just need to be there for a 3 month period. So if persons from the Commonwealth can come into Dominica and register, that seems to be a possibility. That seems to be something that they may be looking at in terms of enhancing persons who could come there, enhancing their own chances, or at least getting some of these
Mm,
individuals to register as voters. So that's something that we have to look at extremely closely, because
yes.
we are just going through a process of attempting to cleanse the voters list. And the last thing we would like is some complication to this, and so because it's just not clear to me why these four governments pushed ahead without without the involvement of the other countries in CARICOM. What is it about the urgency, or what is it that they're trying to achieve that the rest of the countries have not approved of, for example? These are
Yes.
some of the questions that we are asking here in
Yes.
Dominica.
Why these four pushed ahead, and they have formed this. It's a subset really of CARICOM, and they're forged ahead. I will see if Mr. Cook has a question for you, but while he's thinking about that, I wanted to ask you about your healthcare system, because one of the things, that one of what do you call it now, access, one of the things that we will have access to if we come to Dominica is primary health care, emergency and primary health care, plus primary and secondary education. So I wanted to know what's the condition of your health care in Dominica. Not hearing him. He's gone. Okay.
Yes, I was saying years ago
Yes.
we had a very good health system in place. That's
Mm-hmm.
no longer the case. Our health system is not as robust. as it used to be.
Yes.
And so certainly it's nowhere close to what exists in Barbados. In fact, a number of our citizens routinely go to St. Lucia or to St. Vincent or even to Antigua for medical
Oh
treatment.
my God.
So
I see Ernesto shaking his head because if your healthcare system is we're gonna have to talk about this afterwards, Ernesto. If your healthcare system is so bad that you have to go to St. Vincent and you have to go to Barbados and other places. St. Vincent comes to Barbados, right? And Barbados, let me tell you, in our emergency, we wait sometimes 3 days sitting in a chair before we can see a doctor. So I really wonder what kind of this kind of access to primary health care, the emergency and primary health care that we are going to be able to give anybody that comes to our countries.
yeah, well, that is interesting, and again, one wonders about this, about all of those issues, and also why it is that these were not explained to the populace. Why? Because if you ask the average Dominican, no, I mean, as you mentioned it, I'm surprised because I was unaware that was even part of the deal that persons could access these
Yes, yes.
services.
And what about education? I know you're on the road, but I'm curious, Ernest, I would love to know talk to me about primary and school education in Dominica. If I take up my children from Barbados or, Mr. Cook from St. Vincent and comes and decide to come to Dominica, tell me about your education system, specifically primary and secondary education.
Well, the primary and secondary education system in Dominica is still fairly very good.
Mm-hmm.
We have a very high literacy rate, but also we have a very good system. So our students generally tend to do very well on the external exams, and they will often go on to higher education. So there are no issues there with the education system.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some serious concerns around our health system.
The health system, the health system. What
Yeah.
about wages there and access to jobs? Because here it is, we're supposed to come there and would we be disadvantaging the people in Dominica in terms of jobs? Is the market flooded? And what's your
Well, the market, no, well, we have a very high jobless rate in Dominica. We have not done any official surveys, but the majority of students live in school at the state college do not are unable to get jobs. We have an extremely high rate of unemployment. We have a very small private sector here in Dominica.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest employer is the government, and they are just making moves now to increase the minimum wage. The minimum wage right now is $7.50 an hour. That is East Caribbean dollars
EC,
an hour.
which is
Yes.
3.25, $3.25 US. Yeah, okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the minimum wage now. The government had proposed to increase it October 1st, but they just indicated that they're looking at it again. They're reviewing whatever rate they were going to offer.
Yes,
To the
I saw
public. So
that.
it's
I
not
saw
clear. It's
that.
not clear as to what level it's going to go to.
Yes.
But in terms of job availability, I suspect we will have a net outflow. So hopefully there are jobs available in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Belize and Barbados or Dominicans because I can see them going outwards, certainly going
Yep.
out and not necessarily being able to accommodate much alongside.
Well, I can tell you that in Barbados or US students, a lot of them, they can't find any jobs. They can't find any jobs. I know somebody finished UE and right now they're trying to work at the call center. Very, they have their degree and did their masters and trying to work at the call center. So jobs are very, very difficult to get, especially permanent jobs. You will have people in Barbados working 2-3 days a week, but not, so there's a lot of underemployment in Barbados. So I'm not sure if they've properly thought this thing out. What is this thing really about?
Yeah, that's a big question. It does appear to me that there are lots of unanswered questions that the authorities need to answer those, because these are serious concerns. Is it really going to help? Is it going to have a net positive impact on the countries where it is implemented?
Yes.
People are going to feel that they may be invaded by persons from these other territories where probably it's not as good. So these are serious concerns that I don't think that, as you said, were properly thought out or even addressed as we move into that. So one wonders whether the specter of the election is probably what is driving that, and almost like these governments, in particular the free governments, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Dominica, have been under tremendous pressure. Those regimes, they have been under tremendous pressure, and one wonders whether or not that is not what is actually driving all of what we are saying.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would love to have you in studio at some point for, a full discussion on this. And hopefully by then, your prime minister would have, had made a speech or given some kind of documentation about it so that we can have a more fulsome, discussion. And I see, Mr.
Absolutely.
Cook, you have a question or comment for Dr. Ponte? You're muted, sir. You're muted,
Okay.
Ernesto.
I am actually, I was gonna ask him about the discussion in the parliament, but he mentioned that they just didn't know anything at all. They're not getting the kind of information. That is what I wanted to know. What kind of changes were being made now? So that, but he did answer it earlier. Um, he did also mention that the minimum wage, which I found, wait, that's really low, very low. Um, and this is one of the things I was saying that yesterday, that without an economic union, the free movement is really a waste of time, because there can be large disparities across the border.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to be a problem, and that's why I was talking about that. But no, no, Fontaine did answer all the questions I had in my head to ask him. He did answer them,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of people are left in the dark as to what's really going on. Really and truly, unless you don't press for answers, you're not gonna get anything really. So I don't know, this whole thing. I don't know if it was properly thought through. That's just my opinion. I don't know if it was properly thought through. I mean, I know they've been talking about it for a very long time, but
Mm-hmm.
it sounds now that things have begun. It sounds as if they have not really thought through it that properly. But
Yes.
I guess we'll have to wait to hear what comes out of Dominica. I've not been seeing much information, though, like he said.
What really, and who is really benefiting? Because especially with these two countries,
Absolutely.
Dominica and Barbados, we really have to ask who's going to really benefit from it. And yeah, I think that is it. Is it the people, or is it or are we talking about the leaders? Sir, thank you so much for joining us, and looking forward to you coming into the studio with me, well, probably one of the evening shows, and us having along with Ernesto probably, and we have a big discussion about it. Okay.
All right, sounds good. Thanks
Yes.
for having me.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Bye.
Wow. Bye bye. Ernesto,
Yes, sir.
what when he talked about a hospital, the healthcare in Dominica, and he's thinking that, well, you guys have it better there. So and I'm hearing that, somebody says here that their family member was just at the QEH, the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, and they were in emergency for 3 days. That's a regular thing, 2 to 3 days in Barbados. What is it in St. Vincent?
The healthcare in St. Vincent, I would say, it got better. It used to be worse. It got better. I wouldn't say it is the best, because the politicians still fly out if they get a headache. So it's still not the best. Um, you saw it when the prime minister got his head damaged in the protests. He came to Barbados. They said it was just, a little thing, and they said he came to do a scan. So you saw what happened. So you know it's not the best. They do have an MRI machine now. They do have more than one CT scan machine now, which is, so it has improved drastically.
Mm-hmm.
But we still see people with the money decide, I'm not going in that hospital either. They call it the morgue. They used to call it the morgue back in the day. Some people call it
But
the
it's the
morgue.
same thing here.
But it has gotten better, right? but it's still not the best because you can see people with the money decide they're not going to take any chance on it still, right? There's not a lot of specialists that you can use in certain things. You have to get out of St. Vincent if you want,
Want,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, but overall, I would say it is still poor. It is still poor. It is still poor. It is still poor.
So
Um, it has made strides in certain areas, but I would still say it is still poor, right? Um, so yeah, because like for instance, people with kidney and dialysis used to just pass away like that. Now dialysis is free. The government is taking care of it, and you can get it on a daily basis now at the Georgetown Health Center, which was built, a couple of years ago. Like I said, the MRI, the CT scan, they do have these things now, so you don't have to run to Barbados to do them anymore like before. You can do them here in St. Vincent, and they
mhm.
come at a cheaper cost as well, still for the nationals. So a lot of things have improved. I'm not gonna say it's 100%. I don't believe you'll get 100% really, because I'm sure there are people in Barbados who still fly to the US for healthcare, right?
No, then
So
they need to, because we know that you
yeah,
don't get sick and go to QEH. You will
okay,
need to have your money to
okay,
go private. And so this is what we want the people of
right,
in the region to understand, that don't think that the healthcare is great. If I have to go to the QH in emergency
yeah,
and wait 2 to 3 days, and now we're going to open the floodgates and say to people who are coming in that you're going to be able to have access to emergency and primary care. In Barbados, how we're burdening the system that is already broken.
absolutely, absolutely. But so when they're coming to St. Vincent, they have to know that it's not gonna be any bed of roses. I believe like anywhere else, most of these Caribbean islands, it's not gonna be a bed of rose. But I tell you something, the pay in terms of the minimum wage in St. Vincent is now set at $50 EC per day, right?
Per day,
Yeah,
per
that's
day.
for full
So
time.
that means how much
That's
is
a
it per
that, that,
hour?
that's a full time work, right? So
Yeah,
let's so if we go down to the minimum, right. So each day are it's like EC $7.20 per
$7.
hour.
So it's
Yeah,
actually lower than
yeah.
Dominica's.
For skilled workers,
Yeah.
and EC $50 per day, of course, which is a EC $8.40 per hour for the unskilled workers, which people had a problem with because they were wondering how come you get an unskilled at 840 and a skilled at 750, which was a very strange
Yeah,
thing to people.
720. Is it
Yes,
750?
720, 720, 720.
720.
Right. So industrial workers are skilled, they're saying 720 an hour. Industrial workers are unskilled, they're saying 840, which was like people say they don't understand that. Drivers are easy $60 per day. The full-time cleaners are $50 easy per day. You can do the calculation per hour there because full-time when you say a day is like 8 to 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Part-time cleaners are $7 per hour. Security guards full-time is $52 per day, which is $7 per hour. Apprentice youth service $40 per day, right? So you can go and calculate all the different things, and these things are available on government websites in St. Vincent. So you can actually get them there. They're not hiding them. But
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying is that it's not a bed of rose. So if you're coming here, you have to make up your mind and know that this is what this is. And if you're getting more in a different country, I really don't see leaving and coming makes much of a sense, right? That's just me personally.
Exactly. And
Um,
that's the thing here.
that's why I said yesterday, when you have an economic union, things are regulated across the board,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So if you leave, say Spain, and you go into another country which is in the economic union, and they say it's $25 per hour. If you go into that other space within the union, it's $25 per hour. You understand what I'm saying to you? So that's why I was saying you're going to have a lot of disparities without an economic union. So my thing was always, let's get the economic union going first, and then you
Mm-hmm.
can deal with the free movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with the economic union, it means therefore that you'll be able to trade more, do
Yes.
more trade deals with bigger countries. So see, like the US now just slap a 10% tariff on you, and a
Mm-hmm.
12% here in Guyana, 15%, and they want to slap a 11%. If they want to slap a 11% on Barbados, they can do it. And you really don't have any leverage to say you're going to tell them, you can't do it. You can't do it. No, you can't do that because you have no leverage, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had an economic union within CARICOM, What you can do now, you go as a block of 44 million people and you say, this is our economic union, this is our strength, this is the amount of money we have in trade. So
Mm-hmm.
we were telling you, you want to put 11 on me? I'm going to put 11 on you as well.
Yes,
Therefore, immediately, the big countries have to now come and sit down in a proper negotiation and say, let's do this. So, okay, let's do 5% across the board for everybody. And then you say, all right, well, we win 5% here, 5% there. You just can't put, we can't put 5% on you, you put 11 on us, right? So they have the might. They can do it. So my thing is, we should have done the economic union first before we go into the full movement. But because everybody wants to be a landlord in a plantation, there can be no economic union. That is the problem that we have, and that will never happen because everybody wants to be a landlord. Because to have an economic union, it means that you have to give up some of your sovereignty. What do I
mm-hmm.
mean when I say sovereignty? Not saying that they will come and take over Barbados or Trinidad or Grenada, St. Vincent. What I'm saying is that you'll have to get a parliament now where
Yes,
everybody comes now. There's a there's a big parliament and you're not a landlord anymore. You're just a subject. There's an MP now within that parliament, and there has to be one president. Like how there's the president of the Economic Union, which is Van der Leyen in European Union.
yes,
She's the president of the union, so she comes into the parliament and she does this and she does that. And you're the prime minister, just an MP within that parliament, right? But when you go back home to your country, you are actually prime minister. But you
mm-hmm.
come there into that parliament to make the rules across the board. And
Yes,
everybody go back home and now implement those rules to benefit each person within the territory. So if you had an economic union, before that, it would have been better. And that is
yes,
what the European Union did. They went for the economic union and then they went for where everybody can move now within the economic union. And that is why when Trump said to them, I'm going to slap the tariff in your backside, take
mm-hmm.
that. They said, oh, is that so? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
then we'll slap it in your backside too. And that's why he
Yes,
had to come at a table. That's why he had to come at a table and negotiate with the European Union. You
mm-hmm.
understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes,
There's
yes,
power. There's power in the economic union. There's might in the economic union. So when you have a block, you have, but this is where they put the cat before the horse, not the horse before the cat. So right
yeah.
now, what is happening now is that the tail is wagging the dog, not the dog
Yes,
wagging the
what
tail.
they say.
We have a
Listen,
secret group.
Ernesto, I'm saying if you and I can sit down and have this discussion, I am saying these are our leaders.
Yeah,
Why is it that this is not done? When you think about it, let's put this in perspective.
yeah,
Barbados is, I'm going to tell you in why in US dollars.
yeah,
So because they're saying that this is going to bring economic advantage to each
yeah.
country and all of these things, and the GDP is going to increase in each country and da 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 da. But listen, Barbados, the minimum wage is $5.25 US.
Okay.
Okay,
Right.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines $3.10 US.
Mm-hmm.
Dominica $3.25 US. Belize $2.50 US. Who is going to take up from Barbados to go to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, go to Dominica, go to Belize? What kind of workers are we going? Is it? You understand what I'm saying? Exactly what you're saying, that we needed to work on the economic union part of it first for this to really make sense. So then, who is really benefiting from this free movement? Our hospitals, we've just discussed that all the hospitals in the with the four countries, Barbados, you sit and you wait in emergency for 2.5 to 3 days. It's not great in St. Vincent because we see that people travel from St. Vincent to come here for various operations,
Correct.
etc.
Correct.
In Dominica, you just heard the Dr. Fontaine said, well, we can go to Barbados, but because they're thinking healthcare is great in Barbados, they're thinking it's good in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I don't know about. So who is really benefiting? How
Listen,
is this really going to work?
listen. I say it and I'm gonna say it again. This is how I view it, right? Free movement benefits politicians. Economic union benefits citizens.
Mm,
So we have it backwards. And clearly, what we have is a situation where politicians think about themselves and power and their power and how long they can survive in the power structure. So unless we put it like the way I say it, that the politics is the movement is going to benefit the politicians, our politics, and the union is going to benefit citizens. If we don't do it like that, we're going to have a problem. Like you just mentioned, there's so much disparities in the minimum wage, right? I really don't know. I don't know. Somebody might leave Barbados and come to Simmons and find the horrible truth that it was more better for them, for them, in terms of the healthcare, in terms of the supermarket, in terms of getting their child into school that they want them to be, and the kind of
There you go.
somebody will come here and just find out that and realize, wait, this thing is just a bunch of baloney to me. You
But
understand?
and can I say the
So
opposite? That somebody from St. Vincent will come here, and they say, "Oh, well, we're going to get $5.25 US, and that is more than what I could get in St. Vincent." But they will realize when they get to the supermarket what they're able to buy for that, because food is extremely expensive in Barbados.
yeah,
Rent is sky high in Barbados. You have a lot of people now, before people, you will never hear of this, but people are renting a room and sharing with somebody else. Rent is very, very high here. So I don't know. They're going to have a rude awakening when they get to Barbados. They
well,
they
well,
can't eat.
well, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That is where you're gonna have the problem. That is exactly where you're gonna have the problem. I don't know, Marcia. Everything is like, to me, everything is just like up in the air right now. There's so much confusion, right or wrong, right across the board, and everything that's happening to me. I don't know if people are sitting and really thinking about what they're doing, but everything just seems to be like a power grab right now, and anything to keep me in that power and anything to just, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It baffles your mind. Like sometimes it looks like you have to sleep more than 8 hours in the night now to keep your mind clear and to keep your mental health intact, because I don't know. You come here and you talk, and we share, and I share a lot of things with people because sometimes politicians ask me questions because they know what I'm into. And I would say to them and they would say, but I never thought about it that way.
Mm.
And when I hear it from a politician, I'm like, this doesn't sound right. I'm thinking you should be the one explaining that way to me, not me telling you that. But
But but
it,
Ernest, but then that begs a question: why didn't we have this discussion with the citizens?
listen to me, because I say to you again, you boy, I don't know. I'll say it again. Free movement benefits politicians, economic citizenship benefits citizens. If you had this discussion with citizens before and you line out everything, right, that an economic union can bring to them, and you line out everything to them that free movement can bring to them, and you put it on a table and tell them pick, I am quite positive that at least 85% of them would have picked the economic union before the free movement. I'm telling you that.
Yes.
But no politician have no interest in doing that. Politicians do not have interest in making you have power over them. This is the whole thing of the game. Politics is a game. I keep telling people that. The whole thing about it is, I am in charge. I put a manifesto before you, and I'm saying I'm doing free movement. I'm building a hospital. I'm building a bridge. When you vote for me, to hell with you. You could complain, you can protest. This is what you voted for. I said it to you on a campaign trail for 3 weeks. You said you accepted it. I am doing it. That is to hell with you. And if you push me, I will throw your ass in jail. If you try to go on the street and protest and put it, that is what you voted for. That's what is happening, Marcia.
Yes.
This is what
Yes.
that is what they do. There's nothing called discussion anymore. Those days are over and done. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
when these governments get their money from some organization to push an agenda,
mm-hmm,
they put it in a manifesto. They wine and dine you, make you wine down Bridgetown or wine down Kingston, and
mm-hmm,
they give you $2 in your pocket, and you think it's grand. But remember, their things that they're doing didn't come from you. It came from somebody outside of you, because this is how things are to come and fall in place. You understand? So my thing is, we can't be rich as people. We can't create wealth for future generations to come. That is not for me and you, Marcia. That's for as group, a certain sect of society. And until all people understand these things, we're not going anywhere. So, like I said, the free movement, people will wake up and realize what they have done. they will realize what nightmare they walk into after a while. I am quite sure that a lot of people would see an advert of St. Vincent, sun, sea, and sand, and they love it. It's brilliant. It looks pretty. And they would hear certain things, and they come. And after about 2 months, they realize this is really was just an ad selling sun, sea, and whatever it is. There wasn't really anything else really behind it, right? And they may find that they get rain for 6 days, not see, not the sunshine that was being sold, and they realize, wait a minute, what am I doing here,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is what a lot of people wake up to. Never mind you, there will be some people who will get a good advantage because they may come here and say, I am a what I studied psychology, or I studied something to do with mental health, which they can't find these psychologists. These psychologists, you call them, that deal with people in the mental health. What do you call them? Psychologists, I think there are.
Mm-hmm.
You can't find a lot of them around the world, or people suffering. They're trying to fast track the training because some people have mental health issues. So you make Lee Barber doesn't come here and say, well, there's none here. So bam, I got a job for $10,000 a month. This is good, right? So I'm not saying that everybody will be at a disadvantage, but the majority of persons moving will find themselves waking up to a nightmare in these islands. That's all I can say.
Yes, yes,
So
yes. Well,
yeah.
it is. Listen, we could go on, but I suspect that we're going to be on this topic for a little
No,
bit.
this is the next 3 weeks. We'll have to stay on this for the next 3 weeks. Um, Yeah, well, I have to run because if we want my school in time, I have to run and do
Yes,
it again. But guess what?
yes.
To me, like I said to you, Marcia, always remember this piece. If you don't remember anything I said today, remember this. Free movement is for politicians, economic union is for citizens. That's where our discussion starts.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
it.
press that.
Excellent job today, Ernest. I'm so happy you came and encouraged me to do the show. Let's be transparent.
Yeah, I know.
That's why we're the link.
Yes,
I said to
yes,
myself,
yes.
that's why we're the link. And that's it. I appreciate you and thank you because look at the meaningful show that we had today.
That's it. That's
Thank
it.
you, sir. God bless you.
Yeah, we'll
All
talk
right.
again. All
Yes.
right,
Bye
thanks.
bye, everybody. Have a
All right.
great day. Enjoy the rest of your day. God bless you. Bye bye.